Ladies and gentlemen, care for the environment and awareness about climate change are omnipresent. Further action supported by innovation is needed to secure the sustainable and energy-friendly ecosystem we are longing for. But how can this be translated into our fleet and mobility ecosystem? That and more we try to find out in this keynote discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Nicola Veratelli, Chief Executive Officer at Octo Group, and Giorgio Delpiano, Vice President Global Fleet Solutions at Shell. Gentlemen, welcome. Welcome at the Fleet Europe Summit 2020. As both of you have the Italian nationality, I can imagine you would like to go forward in Italian, but that will make my role redundant. So let's continue in English. Giorgio, can you briefly explain what Shell is about?
Good morning and buongiorno, Steven. So Shell is about providing energy to fleets globally. I represent today Shell Fleet Solution. We are the largest provider of energy to fleets globally, and we are privileged to serve in the retail business 30 million customers every day. And I represent the business side of business mobility, and I'm very excited to be with you today and with Nicola and talk about sustainability.
Okay, thank you very much for your presence. The same question for you, Nicola. So can you a little bit describe what Octo Group is about?
Yeah, thank you, Steven, and good morning, everyone. I like to define Octo as a smart telematic provider for a better connected world. This is the way that I like to describe it. I know that telematics might sound a little bit complicated, but in reality, we want to transform data into something that is driving value-add solution for the customer and the community.
Why is it necessary, important to, let's say, improve the ecological footprint in our industry, the fleet and mobility ecosystem?
Well, I have to say that I tend to say that we owe it to our planet. I mean, we constantly hear in the news things like climate change, deforestation, biodiversity losses. You know, all these factors are dramatically impacting the planet that we live. So as a matter of fact, I really believe that we are living, our generation is living in a kind of a crossroad. So we need to really try and do everything possible to try and make sure that we protect our planet and we guarantee the sustainability of this planet, especially for our next generation. And in a nutshell, if you think about the fact that probably 15 to 20%, I think is the correct number, of greenhouse global gas emission is driven by vehicles. So we, as a group of fleet-related individuals, we cannot do anything but trying to become a solution and not the problem, because we all know that mobility is the backbone of the economy. So we really need to try and find a solution to that. And that's why it is absolutely mandatory that we leverage our capability. And, I'm glad to have Giorgio in here because fuel efficiency, technology solution like the one that we can provide that can really streamline the way we handle this mobility world needs to be our priority. So we as a company needs to focus on making sure that all of our effort will improve the planet that we live.
Giorgio, I want to come to you. Where do you think is room for improvement when it comes to sustainability, but also technology in the fleet and mobility chain?
And I really like how you frame it, right? Because it is a big opportunity for us in mobility to reshape how we operate in mobility. Obviously, even before COVID-19, as you know, there were large-scale trends in the industries that we were seeing, right, in the business, especially in fleet. One is about digitalization, and you are familiar with it. Obviously, Nicola is driving that very, very effectively with fleets. But what we see now is that the development of connected fleets will bring opportunities that we do not have yet explored. And as you well know, before 2025, every single vehicle in Europe will be connected. So that we see as a massive opportunity for players like Nicola's company, ourselves, and many of the people listening today to collaborate and think through how we can leverage the connection of vehicles. The second big trend that we see is obviously the energy transition itself, right? And within that, we see a shift, obviously, from internal combustion engine to electric powertrains. And within that, we see a tremendous opportunity to provide energy for those fleets that actually needs to have the transition. And I will talk a bit about it later, but I see that as a tremendous opportunity. And maybe the third area to really think through for the colleagues here on the call is that we are moving from fleet managers to mobility managers. So what we see in the ecosystem of fleets in Europe, but globally, is a transition of the role itself.
Nicola, Giorgio talked about digitalization and also energy transition. How do you at Octo combine both to leverage, let's say, excellence for your customers?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So if you think about that, when I called smart telematics, the reason is the following. Data are becoming key. Data is really the big driver of everything. And when you start connecting the fleet and transform this data from just a huge amount of information to something that is actionable, that is providing value, so then you will see and you will start having the real value of the technology. And the digitalization, of course, is very much the driver of all that. We need to simplify the life of especially of our fleet manager. We need to allow them to become more and more dynamic. And I want to use the word that Giorgio just said, mobility leader, mobility manager, because they need to make sure that they're capable not just of optimizing the TCO, so the total cost of ownership of our fleet, but also improving the way the fleet is managed. Again, fuel efficiency. Again, optimizing what I call the vision zero. So less pollution, less congestion, and by the way, less accident. And the technology that is coming from the connectivity and the use of the digital experience will allow all the fleet manager to be able to give a real step change in the way they manage their fleet and the entire mobility space.
Okay. Giorgio, how is your company supporting and transforming to, let's say, a sustainable, energy-friendly, but also digitally friendly company? And how do you see your role?
Well, you say Shell is already, as I said, the largest player in mobility, right? So we have a large network of energy locations, but we are as well the largest mobility provider to businesses globally, right? So we have a duty ourselves to be very active in driving this energy transition. And we're investing $100 million per year in low or zero carbon projects, right? And what we want to do as a company, and this is public knowledge, we aim to be net zero ourselves by 2050, but we hope to be that much well sooner than that. And what we see as well is there is not one solution, but many solutions. And there is not only two fleets are not the same. And what we see is that depending on what part of the world you are and the level of affordability you have, some of this transition will be accelerated or not. In e-mobility specifically, it's an area where many fleets, many people listening today are active and trying and testing areas. We really believe that we are going to play a critical role. As you know, we are already with NewMotion, the largest provider in Europe, but we are investing materially in ultra fast chargers in our Shell network, and we are daily expanding our network. But e-mobility is not for everybody. We have a very big investment in LNG, hydrogen, nature-based solutions. So what we are trying to achieve, offering a broader offer to our customers, is giving them the opportunity to invest and take the best possible decision for their fleet. And on the technology end, we are as well operating in telematics. So we are as well a small, minor competitor to Octo, of course. But we have overall, big plans to expand our platform into mobility.
Okay. Very good. Nicola, Giorgio earlier said that by 2025, we can expect that every car in Europe, let's say, will be connected. How do you see that connectivity going forward?
Everyone is starting realizing how necessary it is the use of connected and telematic solution into our vehicle. So at the beginning, there was a little bit of reluctancy, and that's very normal practice. Every time you enter into a new world of technology, there is a little bit of, worries around the adoption. But now, I was just reading yesterday that almost 95% of the fleet manager believes in the use of telematics as the way to improve the way we manage our fleet. And as I said, not just on the cost side, but also on the eco-friendly capability of the usage of the telematic solution. So I'm convinced that we are going to get there also because either via the originally equipped solution that will come from the OEM, or especially in the early phase via the third-party providing solution like could be us, because at the end of the day, the benefits are far too high. And all fleet managers are realizing that. And in addition, if you think about the concept of CASE, I'm quoting an acronym that everyone is familiar with, so the connected, autonomous, and shared and electrical. So we know that we need to get there. We know that that's the immediate future, not the future of tomorrow. And C and S are very much driven by telematic solution and connected cars. So not just the C for connected, but also the shared vehicle, the concept of shared fleet is something that can only be enabled via the use of telematic solution. And even more, if you think about the concept of smart cities, which is the end game where we all want to go to handle the world in a better way, the only enabler for the smart cities is the connected vehicles. You cannot have a smart cities or a smart places without having the connected vehicles. And on top of that, and then of course I stop, otherwise I talk too much, the use of telematics is not only providing the concept of, as I said, better TCO, better eco-friendly and close to the environment, but it's also providing added value to the driver.
A question that probably everybody would like to see answered by the both of you is, what does the evolution in becoming an energy-friendly and digitally friendly connected company, what does that evolution mean for your old business model? So for Shell, for example, many people still see you as the producer and the marketeer of oil-related products. And for Octo and many other telematics specialists, we see that as the technology specialist with a little dongle in the car. Perhaps starting with Giorgio, how do you see your old business model evolve and what will stay from the old business model?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Shell has been providing, the world with energy for more than 125 years, right? So what will stay in our business model is the affiliation to customers and the customer focus. And, we have been evolving ourselves tremendously. Obviously, a service station of today has nothing to look like what we had, even 20, 30 years ago. So similarly, we see the energy transition as a fantastic opportunity for the company itself to reposition, from an oil and gas group into an energy group. And, you have seen, many of the announcements are in that direction. What we see and what we believe is that this transition will happen by actually leveraging our tremendous customer base. As you know, we operate in 45 countries globally, so we can, with our customers, find solutions to their needs and working together. And it's a massive undertaking what we need to do in Europe. If you think that we need to move 30 to 40 million vehicles over time to different powertrains, the level of investment that we're talking about is exceptional. And as a result, we are obviously going to be part of it, and our business model is going to thrive because ultimately we deliver what our customers need, and we are in mobility now for more than 100 years, so we know relatively well this industry.
Good. Nicola, how do you see technology and the move towards mobility impacting, let's say, the old business model of a telematics company? I can imagine, for example, AI is something that you are working with at the moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have to say that that's the beauty of working in a tech company, to constantly see the evolution of this concept. If you think back when we started almost 20 years ago with this little black box that was stuck into the car, connected, the famous dangle, and very much focused on very few capabilities, mainly addressing the insurance business, the famous insurtech world. Well, as of today, first of all, I have to say that from the box, we are only talking about the brain that is inside the box. So we are very much device agnostic. Actually, our technology is something that it's totally immaterial which kind of device are the data coming from. Our main focus is clearly on AI-based machine learning capabilities, on algorithm based on the huge amount of data that we have collected over the last 20 years. If you think about the fact that we have almost 280 billion miles worth of data that we are constantly elaborating, this will gives us algorithm with a level of accuracy that is outstanding. And this is the kind of value that we want to provide to our customer. So accurate analytics that provide really decision-making opportunity to handle better their own business. So on top of that, and I just want to grab the opportunity of this strange environment that we are in, so this pandemic. So our technology, together with, of course, focusing on insurance, fleet, mobility, and overall, we couldn't avoid to try and invest energy and resources to try and do something also for this kind of situation. So you know that we develop products that sanitize immediately the vehicle in a very automatic way, because we want to allow the fleet and mobility world to keep acting, even in a difficult environment like the one that we are facing. So we really created this new technology that hopefully will allow car sharing, car rental, and everything there is in the space of mobility to move ahead even faster, even in these difficult circumstances.
Okay, final question, short answer. Giorgio, what is your main tip for fleet managers that, in order to make their organization more energy friendly?
Well, as I said, I believe the fleet managers, are mobility managers, right? So, and I would say the three main thoughts for the people listening to this call. The first is e-mobility. Is a new area where, personally at Shell, I'm really excited about, and is an area where we need to collectively learn and develop. It's a new area, and we see tremendous opportunities on e-mobility. Second, think through how you can develop mobility budgets for your employees and the vehicles that you manage. I see that transition will ultimately deliver better outcome from a miles driven and from an environmental impact perspective. And finally, there is, even for the people that don't go to e-mobility but still retain an internal combustion engine fleet, the opportunity to offset part of their carbon emissions with real projects. And we are doing a tremendous work with a number of fleets in Europe to identify projects. And the more projects we do, obviously, the bigger activities we can have and the bigger impact we can have in markets. So I will leave the fleet managers with these three thoughts.
Nicola, the same question, but then on the connectivity side. What is your main tip for fleet and mobility managers in turning their organization, let's say, in a digital environment?
Well, yeah, I have to say that I'm a bit biased because Stephen and many others know that I was fleet manager until last year. So I know very well the world that these guys are living. So my piece of advice is, first of all, to allow telematics provider overall to be able to allow me the word, educate you on the usage of this technology, because the more you will know about how much it can provide you, how much it can give you, the better is going to be your life and your daily activity. Because understanding the power, the value, and what's in it for you, the connected solution will really streamline and facilitate and optimize your job. This is very much what the piece of advice that coming from that world I'm willing to give to the people that are listening today.
Good. Gentlemen, we have to close this keynote panel. Thank you very much for your time. I want to thank Giorgio Delpiano of Shell and Nicola Veratelli of Octo Group for their interesting insights. And don't forget to discover the booths of our sponsors in our Fleet Europe Summit Village, which is open throughout the conference days. On main stage here, we will now start with the first ever initiative, the Fleet Europe Summit Fleet Show, in which our automotive and tech journalist Dieter Kwartier welcomes DS Automobile and Kia Motors Europe in a fleet launch of their newest models, respectively the DS9 and the Kia New Sorento PHEV. Until 11:30, you can also network with the participants in our networking area, whereafter 3 concurrent breakout sessions will start. You have the choice between reinventing corporate mobility with ALD, why your corporate fleet needs to turn EV with data forge and transport and environment, and how you integrate fleet and mobility with CMaaS. So make your choice. I see you again at 1:30 p.m. Bye-bye.